Hey, what up everybody? This is Stevie Breach coming to you. This is a review, honestly, that's been a few days behind. I don't think you guys really care, but I watched this show almost a week ago, I believe. And I just haven't been able to find time in order to work this review up, to put it up on the channel. So right now is a good time. Today I'm going to be doing a few reviews over some classic matches and shows. So sit back, get your popcorn, get you a few Dr. Peppers sitting there by the thing, and let's check this out. But SummerSlam 2001 was a good show. I know that when I made my top 5 SummerSlams video, which will be in the description box down below if you didn't get a chance to check it out, it was skipped over. I think I had 99, 2000, and 2002 as 3 of the top 5 SummerSlams of all time, and I sort of was looking at this show before I made that video, wondering why this show wouldn't rank up with where those other ones were, and I watched it. Honestly, this was a good show. Thinking about it right now as I was trying to go over the results and think of everything that happened along the way and why they happened and things like that, I had a hard time remembering everything that went down. Honestly, if it wasn't for the Kurt Angle versus Stone Cold Steve Austin match, which isn't even the main event of this show, I don't think I really remembered watching this show as much. I probably would have had to sit down and try and rewatch it again, but as I thought about that Angle and Austin match, it makes me remember a lot of the Bret Hart versus Stone Cold Steve Austin. I believe that's WrestleMania 13 from Chicago. This match is a lot like that match. It is a very, very cool, very awesome match. And, it ends in DQ. That's probably one of the main reasons why it wasn't in the main event slot, even though The Rock was returning to the WWE after making the Scorpion King. So it sort of made him a big deal. But then again, The Rock was facing Booker T. And that's one sort of knock on it along the way. But it is a big deal to have The Rock back. I think they were kissing The Rock's ass, knowing that at that time, he had been a huge hit on Saturday Night Live. I was about to say Saturday Night's Main Event, but he had been on Saturday Night Live, and a lot of people were thinking that when he got into the movies, he was going to be a big deal. Little did they know he was a bigger deal than a big deal, and he would grow on to being one of the biggest action stars there are in the world today. This show started with the kickoff show. Not kickoff show. They didn't add the pre-show. I think that's Saturday Night Heat onto there, much like they did with a few of the free-for-alls back in the day with the In Your Houses. But Edge versus Lance Storm for the Intercontinental Championship is the match that kicks off the night. Edge wins this. The cool story that's going on in the background of this match is the breakup of Edge and Christian as a tag team. At this point, Edge had won the King of the Ring. That had to have been a few months earlier. I think that was a June pay-per-view most of the time. But Edge had won that, and Christian was the one you always saw holding on to the King of the Ring trophy. He came running down to the ring, trying to help Edge. Ended up hitting Edge with a spear. He was still able to pick up the win, but you were able to see a little bit of dissension of Edge looking at Christian, like, why the heck did he come running down here into my match? Christian is the guy who poses with the Intercontinental Championship. Once Edge wins, you can sort of look at it if you were a fan of Christian, that maybe Christian was just so proud of Edge. You get to see in the back as Edge and Christian are sort of celebrating their match. I believe it's Aunt Edna is who calls Christian on Christian's phone to talk to Edge and wish him good luck. And as Edge wraps up, he tells Aunt Edna that I'm going to pass the phone back to Christian. And when Christian picks up the phone, he is met by nobody. They hung up, and nobody was there to talk to Christian. And Christian thought it was bad cellular service, so he was sort of playing the idiot right there. But that was the big pickup win for the WWF team. They were able to gain a win and gain one of their titles back, getting the Intercontinental Championship back. I didn't even talk about that. One of the greatest times in WWE history, no matter, you can look at it both ways. Some people hate this time period. Some people love it because, ECW and WCW weren't able to bring their biggest stars in. But the Invasion was going down. And this is something that, wrestling fans dreamed of their whole lives, about, what it would be like if a WWF and a WCW ran a joint show and we got to see Hulk Hogan versus Ric Flair, Sting versus The Undertaker, Macho Man Randy Savage versus, I was going to say Ricky Steamboat. We'd already seen that, but he was a WCW guy in my mind. But, that was sort of the dream. When it turns out, The WWE wasn't able to sign a lot of the WCW guys because their Time Warner contracts were sort of ironclad. The guys would have had to give up a lot of money in order to sign with WWF instead of just sitting at home, and it just made more sense for them. The guys being like Hulk Hogan, Scott Hall. Well, Scott Hall had been released. He was a free agent at this time because he appeared in ECW at the end of their run. But Kevin Nash, Goldberg, the list goes on of all these guys that just got paid to sit at home instead of going and work and wrestling, just because that's how the WCW contracts worked, is that when the company dissolved, they rolled over into being other Time Warner contracts, and they weren't out of money at all. But basically, this was a hot time, and this was a hot show. The Invasion pay-per-view had been the month before. I need to watch that sooner than later, because that is a really good show, and it plays into the Rob Van Dam, Jeff Hardy match that comes up later. We have a Dudley Boys and Test in a 6-man tag going up against the Acolytes and Spike Dudley. Spike Dudley didn't get to make the jump. He stayed with Team WWF, not going to WCW and ECW in the Invasion. I think that they just knew that Spike Dudley was a little guy. He wasn't going to get a lot of heel heat. He was really good at playing the sympathy little brother of the Dudleys, and the Dudleys beating up on Spike made for better TV. X-Pac fought Tajiri to combine the Cruiserweight and Light Heavyweight Championships. And this match honestly gets looked over a little bit because a WWF guy, X-Pac, gets the win over Tajiri, but it doesn't play into the storyline of them gaining wins and losses with Team WWF, because I think that X-Pac was a part of the X Factor. Oh, X Factor. Uncle Cracker. Uncle Cracker sang the theme song. I love him from back in the day, and the fact that he's had 2 hits with Kenny Chesney makes it even better. I got everything I ever wanted, and you'll never get that back. Oh, X-Pac, the man. Dude, I don't even know why I did that. But, X Factor was the heel group involved with Team WWF, so them combining the titles didn't even sort of result in anybody in the locker room giving a shit about it. They wrestled a good match. Tajiri got caught up checking out Albert, who had walked out to sort of looked like he was an interviewer in this match. That let Tajiri, he did the red mist. Right into Albert's face, which let X-Pac come up from behind, hit the X Factor, and get the win 1-2-3. Jericho had a match against Rhino, which he won by submission, but honestly the match should have been Jericho versus Stephanie McMahon, who was on the outside as the manager of Rhino, and basically there was nothing given to Rhino. Nobody cared about that. The camera was on Stephanie the whole time the match was on. Every time Rhino was ahead in offense, Stephanie was cheering. Every time that she was every time Rhino was beaten down, Stephanie was trying to root him on, or just bawling in tears on the outside that Jericho, her most hated rival, was going to get the win. She walked out on Rhino when he did submit, and that was a big part of the storyline going forward. Rob Van Dam beat Jeff Hardy in a ladder match for the Hardcore Championship. These guys stole the show at the Invasion pay-per-view, and this one just followed up behind it. A great match from these 2 dudes, which plays out to be a really good story told around the ladder. It's a very good match to find. From there, we go to the Brothers of Destruction, Undertaker and Kane. They were wrestling for the tag team championships. I can't remember which way they were. I think that DDP and Chris Kanyon were the WWF tag team champions, and I think that Undertaker and Kane were the WCW tag team champions, because I think they beat Chronic at the Invasion pay-per-view before they got fired. But basically, this is a storyline that nobody wants to remember, where DDP came in as the stalker, and he was sort of following Sarah Undertaker around in her ranch, and he had set up shrines of her with candles and pictures all over the locker room, and Undertaker was just pissed off that somebody was following his wife around. DDP knew that this angle was the shits, but it was his only way into WWE at this point, and he just wanted to keep wrestling. At his age, he knew he didn't have long. I believe that once he came to the WWF, I think he was only there for maybe a year and a half, maybe 2 years at the most, before he had that injury, which led to him starting up DDP yoga and growing that in today, where he's made more money off of yoga than he's ever made in the wrestling business ever. But this match to me is just an ass kicker. I don't think DDP or Kanyon get any offense in this match. Basically, at one point, DDP and Kanyon are trying to escape the match. And as they're trying to make sure they're not escaping, Undertaker just tells Kane to let Kanyon go, and it turns into to be a handicapped cage match with Undertaker and Kane beating down on DDP to the point of, I think this killed off the angle with DDP, and then from there he went into like a sort of like a Simon Dean, Tony Robbins kind of guy, where he was just smiling and telling everybody to work on things. Everybody knows about the DDP versus Christian match at WrestleMania, where basically DDP was trying to help Christian get out of his losing streak that was going on. From there we go to what should have been the main event, Kurt Angle against Stone Cold Steve Austin. Angle wins the match by DQ, and that's the one reason why it's not the main event. So everybody didn't go home unhappy of just a shit finish of nothing really going down. But this is one of the best matches I've seen in a long time. I would recommend this match to almost just about anybody. Because I think it's as far as Stone Cold Steve Austin matches, I think that I think it's just as good as that Bret Hart match that everybody always says is what really put him on the map. We got Austin, stunning refs and everything all around there. And then The Rock, he beat Booker T in the main event to become the WCW champion, which I believe Jim Ross tries to put over like it's a big deal. Even though WCW had closed, WWF was trying to run with the storyline of the titles still meant something, and I think everybody in the world knew it didn't, and I think they were just trying to get to the point of getting to Vengeance, where they would sort of merge those championships together, with Jericho beating Rock and Jericho beating Stone Cold Steve Austin to become the undisputed champion, and then just having the belts just made into a new belt at WrestleMania when Triple H beat him. But this was a good pay-per-view, not as good as a lot of other SummerSlams, but one definitely to check out on the road to SummerSlam this week.